Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a really good bear hang, maybe even the best bear hang ever. Now, we're not going to be hanging up any bears today, but what I'm going to show you is how to hang up your food to make it extremely difficult and hopefully even impossible for a bear to get to it. Now, as you probably know, there are other options for protecting your food, and in some areas it may be required that you carry a certified bear-resistant food container. But if you're in an area where that's not required and there are good trees around, then hanging your food can be a viable option. Now, when you hang your food, it's important that the food is at least 10 feet off the ground and at least 10 feet out from the nearest tree. Now, you might have seen in some diagrams, perhaps older diagrams and illustrations, showing the food 5 feet out from the nearest tree, but I can tell you from personal experience that that's not far enough. Sometimes diagrams will also show hanging the food off of a branch, but it's pretty uncommon to find a branch that's long enough and strong enough to get your food far enough out from the tree. So what I'm going to be showing is suspending the food from two trees that are at least 20 feet apart with good branches. Now, it might take a while to find a good spot, and it's going to take a while to set this whole thing up. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time to do this. You're probably going to want to look for a spot soon after you get to your campsite, because you definitely don't want to be doing this in the dark. Also keep in mind that you don't want to leave your food unattended, so you might have to bring the food with you or leave someone in camp to protect your food. Also keep in mind, if you're in grizzly bear country, that you really want to have somebody with you, and ideally have pepper spray with you as well. Next thing I'm going to talk about are the materials you're going to need to build this system. I'm going to start off by talking about a thin cord like this. This is 1/8 inch or 3mm cord, sometimes referred to as parachute cord or 550 cord. This is quite popular, and yes, it's lightweight and inexpensive, but I don't recommend using a thin cord like this because a bear potentially could break this or bite through it. And the other problem with a thin cord like this is that when you throw it up into a tree, it can get hopelessly tangled and stuck to the point where you might have to cut it and leave part of it as trash. The better option is a thicker cord like this. This is 6mm nylon cord. It has a breaking strength of about 1,600 pounds. You might be able to get by with 5mm cord, but I've had good success with this, and this is 80 feet long. I also have 30 feet of 4mm cord. This has a breaking strength of almost 800 pounds. 30 feet is usually long enough, although you might want to go a little bit longer than this depending on how high you get your hang up. I also have 3 climbing carabiners. It's important that you use real climbing carabiners that are strong enough. It's okay if they're older or retired carabiners. What you don't want is a little toy carabiner like this that's better suited for a keychain, which might break and be quite dangerous in this system. In addition to the materials that you're going to be carrying with you, you're going to need to find a good rock to use to tie the rope around to throw up into a tree. A rock like this is pretty ideal. It's parallel-sided. You can tie the rope on there, so it should stay on pretty well. If you can't find a rock like this, one option would be to tape the rope onto the rock, although that might require a fair amount of tape. Some people like to use a small stuff sack that they can fill with rocks or dirt. My personal preference is to use a good solid rock like this. And this one probably weighs a little less than 2 pounds, so it's heavy enough to pull the rope over a branch, but light enough that I can throw it up pretty far. What I'm going to show you here is how to set up the rope for throwing. What I've done is I've attached the rope to the rock using half hitches. I'm just going to set that down, and then I'm going to make a bunch of little coils like this so when I throw the rock, it should feed off quite nicely. Okay, I found two good trees that are over 20 feet apart, and the one closest to me has a good looking branch to get my rock and rope over. Now it's important that when you're throwing up into a branch that the branch doesn't form too sharp of a V, because if your rope goes into that, it might get completely stuck. Also keep safety in mind. Make sure there's nobody in the way that you might hit. And also, if you miss and the rock bounces back at you, you want to be ready to jump out of the way. Okay, here goes my first attempt. All right, I'm going to try another toss here. Now, you might have noticed that I'm tossing underhand. I find for me that works best. If there's someone in your group or you have a strong throwing arm, you might try overhand, but for me, underhand has worked well. On the last toss, I got it over a branch, but it wasn't the branch I wanted, so here we go again. Okay, well, it went over, but my rock fell out. All right, looks like I finally got it. Now that I got my first tree, I pulled some rope through, and now I'm going for my second tree. Didn't get the branch I was hoping for, so here we go again. All right, got it. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the end of the rope and I'm going to anchor it to the tree here. Now you could tie this off using half hitches, but what I like to do is put this rope around the rope going up the tree and tying a bowline around that. And the nice thing about this is really easy to adjust if I want to move it down or up the tree. I'll usually start by getting this about as high as I can. The next step is to take the rope coming down from the tree and tie a loop. And a good knot to tie here is the alpine butterfly. The alpine butterfly is a good knot to use here because there's going to be a tremendous force on this knot. And this knot's a good knot because after it's been loaded, it's relatively easy to untie. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take my 4mm cord, and I have the middle of it here, and I'm just going to clip it in. This is a really important step before you haul this rope up because otherwise you won't be able to reach it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other end of my rope here and I'm going to anchor it to the bottom of this tree. And again, I like to use a bowline here. And now that's anchored. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie a clove hitch and I'm going to put one of my carabiners into that. Put the gate up. Then I'm going to reach up here and put in another clove hitch. So now I have a carabiner here and one down here. I'm going to take this rope, put it through the bottom one, come up, and put it into this upper one. And what this is going to do is this is going to give me a pulley system. It's actually a 3-to-1 pulley system, so I have a mechanical advantage. And to get even more mechanical advantage, I'm going to thread the rope around one more time. And so essentially what I've done here is set up a block and tackle system. And I'm going to start pulling on this. I'm just going to get this as tight as I can. And I can only pull so much with my hands, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my foot through here. I'm going to use that to pull down. Okay, now there's enough friction in this system where I can pinch this right there at the carabiner, and then I'm going to tie a releasable half hitch. Make sure my fingers are out of the way. Pull that snug, and now it's anchored. I'm going to go ahead and take the bight here and run it through a couple more times. And now it's completely anchored. Okay, here's a close-up view of how to tie this off. I'm going to pinch this outer strand here, take a bight, and make a releasable half hitch. And I'll hold it in place. Then I'm going to go around again, the bight, and a third time. Okay, I have a bag here that weighs about 30 pounds, which might seem like quite a bit of food, but if you think about it, if you're going on a backpacking trip with, say, 3 people for 7 days, you easily could have that much food. And also keep in mind, ideally you should be hauling up all of your cooking gear, your stove, also anything that has a smell to it, so toothpaste, sunscreen, and things like that should also go up into the bear hang. So what I'm going to do is tie this on. I'm just going to use a few half hitches here. And I'm going to haul this up. Now I find that 30 pounds is about as much as I can do by myself. Potentially you can get someone to help you with a long stick or a trekking pole. If you have more weight than this to haul up, then you probably want to bring another 4mm cord so you can haul them up individually. Alright, I'm hauling up my bag. I've got the cord around my backside for more holding power, and I'm going to go around this tree here. I'm going to go around an extra time. And then I'm going to go ahead and tie it off, again using half hitches. In most areas, tying the cord off to a tree like this will be adequate. But if you're in an area where the bears are very habituated, they've figured out that breaking or biting through that cord is a way to get to your food. So in areas like that, you might want to use the counterbalance method, where you divide your food into half, and you pull up the first half up as high as you can, and then tie the second bag up as high as you can reach, and then balance the 2 bags out using a stick or a trekking pole. Before you do that, make sure you put the extra rope on top of that second bag so it can't be reached. So there you have it, the best bear hang ever. Obviously there's a lot to this, and it can take a while. This one took me about 15 minutes after I found a good location. but it could take quite a bit longer than that. It's also really important to practice with this before heading into the backcountry. And if you're not willing to take the time and effort to do this, then you should definitely bring a certified bear-resistant food container. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to hear more how-to videos and equipment reviews, please hit the subscribe button.